Lightning forked across the night sky above Atlanta's historic West End, the thunder so loud it rattled the cracked panes of Papa Ray's smokehouse. Inside, Ravon Ray, Carter stood behind the counter, arms folded over an apron that once blazed crimson but had faded to a stubborn rust. Rain hammered the sidewalk outside, and in its watery haze he spotted a lone figure, a tall white woman, drenched, clutching a battered laptop bag to her chest while wind threatened to knock her from her stilettos. Most passers-by would assume someone dressed like her could summon a rideshare, flag a cab, or simply dash into the boutique hotel 3 blocks east. But Ray did not hesitate. He unlocked the deadbolt and pushed the warped oak door wide. "Ma'am," he called, voice carrying above the storm's roar. "Get in here before that Georgia sky decides to wash you clear away." The woman's blue eyes widened with relief. She hurried inside, rainwater pooling on the black and white tile floor. Steam curled from her designer suit, a white blazer plastered to her shoulders. Ray handed her a stack of dish towels without asking questions and began brewing chicory coffee in the ancient percolator that still bore his late mother's initials in faded paint. Ray had no idea that this soaked stranger, Elizabeth Libby Whitmore, held the power to crush Papa Ray's forever or resurrect it from the ashes of bankruptcy. Nor did Libby grasp that the choice she would make in the coming days would upend her own empire. But to understand how 2 storms, one meteorological, one moral, converged here, we must turn the clock back 13 hours. Dawn slid shyly over the West End's brick storefronts, painting them peach gold before the usual grind of sirens and MARTA buses filled the air. Ray parked his 12-year-old Ford Ranger beside the restaurant he had inherited 2 years earlier, when Mama Pauline's heart gave out while stirring collard greens for the lunch rush. Papa Ray's, in its best decade, had fed politicians and poets. Now its blue neon sign sputtered like a dying firefly. Ray stared for a moment at the lurid red notice taped to the front door. Foreclosure, 20 days remaining. He forced a breath, unlocked the gate, and stepped inside. The dining room seated 40 when full. Yesterday he'd served 9 lunches, mostly regulars who tipped like family, even though they were just as broke. Mismatched chairs hugged scarred pine tables, each piece of furniture a relic. The table where twin brothers had enlisted in the Marines. The booth where local blues legend Sammy J wrote his first hit. The counter stool Mama Pauline occupied every morning at 5. He opened the cash drawer. Yesterday's total, $62.44. Utilities for the month, nearly $4,000. Rent, $5,000. Savings account, $16 and change. Ray ran a hand over close-cropped curls and did the math again on his phone as if the numbers might magically reorder. They did not. At 6:30, his niece Maya burst in, hood up, sneakers soaked. 19, unapologetically queer, and the best barbecue pit apprentice in Fulton County. She balanced college classes with dawn prep. UNC, the smoker's running cold again, she said, wiping rain off her face. We're out of pecan wood. Only hickory left. Ray pasted on optimism he didn't feel. Hickory it is. People think we changed the recipe on purpose. By 8, Miss Geneva, 71 and arthritic but indefatigable, shuffled and humming, "Take me to the river." She had started bussing tables here the year Ray was born. Now she managed the register and read fortunes with tea leaves for tourists. 2 more part-timers, Luis and Deshawn, arrived next, eyes heavy after night shifts elsewhere. Ray looked at them all, his ragtag family, and vowed silently, "Not today. I will not let the bank tell these souls they're finished." But outside, other forces sharpened their claws. In Buckhead boardrooms, investors mapped a luxury condo corridor sweeping from downtown up through the West End, raising every struggling mom-and-pop on the way. One company towered above the rest, Whitmore Urban. By 1:30 p.m., Papa Ray's had served exactly 3 tables. A group of tech interns split 1 platter of brisket and water, tipping in Bitcoin, or so they joked. Rain clouds rolled over the city like a dark tide. Phones shrieked with severe storm alerts. When the downpour hit, it hit hard, sideways sheets of water, wind gusts shrieking through alleyways. As lightning licked the Baptist church steeple across the street, the lights flickered, surrendered, and the restaurant fell into candlelit half-gloom. Through the vitrines Ray saw her, a lone white woman, maybe mid-30s, blazer clung to her like seaweed, hair darkened to copper by rain. She tried calling someone on a phone that flashed, then died. She scanned doorways. Most businesses had closed early. When hail began pinging off awnings, her heels slid. She braced against a lamppost and looked dangerously close to collapsing. Ray's heart twitched. Mama Pauline had dragged homeless vets in from thunderstorms, fed them gumbo, slipped them bus fare. Her gospel was simple. Every stranger might be family unannounced. Ray grabbed the door handle. Inside, Libby sipped the chicory brew, hands trembling around the chipped mug. Ray adjusted the space heater nearer, then ladled soup, creamy smoked turkey mulligatawny, into his last uncracked bowl. Name's Ray Carter. Folks call me Papa Ray even though I ain't old enough for the title, he said. Elizabeth, she replied between shivers. Thank you, Mr. Carter. My driver's car hydroplaned on the interstate. I told him to drop me near the West End station. Phone's fried, and I'm hopeless with directions. Ray's brow rose. Driver? He glanced at her watch, a sleek Swiss timepiece worth more than his truck. Yet her gratitude felt genuine, almost raw. When she had warmed, he offered house-made cornbread, slightly stale, recast on the griddle with honey butter. Libby's eyes watered after the first bite. My grandmother was from Macon, she murmured. This tastes like her kitchen on Christmas Eve. Uncle and niece exchanged curious glances. Wealth rarely spoke of grandmother's kitchens. Libby's gaze roamed the dining room. The black and white photos of neighborhood block parties, the Polaroid of Ray at age 10 helping Mama Pauline carve the restaurant's first whole hog, the community corkboard plastered with church fish fry flyers, missing dog notes, and scrawled help wanted cards offering $8 hourly wages. She lingered on a fresh poster, Save Papa Ray's. Signed the petition at the counter. But none of them, least of all Ray, saw how her eyes flickered at the poster's font, as though it jogged a distant memory. The storm eased after 40 minutes. Libby stood, searching her soaked blazer. At least allow me to pay. She produced a black titanium card. Ray raised a hand. Keep your money, Miss Elizabeth. Storm victims eat free. My mama taught me, break bread first, do business later, if at all. Her shoulders sagged. I don't know anyone who'd refuse this card. Then you've been meeting the wrong kind of folks. She laughed, the sound cutting tension like a blues riff. Yet behind it, Ray sensed weight, secrets she carried like wet wool. Moments later, a sleek silver SUV nosed to the curb. A uniformed chauffeur stepped into the drizzle, unfurled an umbrella. Libby collected her laptop bag, but as she turned, a flash drive slipped from its side pocket onto the floor. Ray stooped to retrieve it. Its brushed metal casing bore a stylized W intertwined with an urban skyline. He passed it back. Libby accepted with care that felt almost reverent. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. She pressed a thick, cream-stock business card into his palm. E. Whitmore, CEO, a phone number and email. No company name. She hesitated. Papa Ray's reminds me of what cities are supposed to feel like. Then she was gone, swallowed by tinted glass and the hush of luxury. Maya whistled low. UNC, that was Elizabeth Whitmore. Like, the Whitmore. Billion-dollar property queen of Buckhead. Ray's stomach dropped. He had heard the name in neighborhood meetings. Whitmore Urban, the slick sharks circling West End real estate. Probably coincidence, he muttered, though he didn't believe it. That night, far above Peachtree Street in a penthouse whose windows carved the storm clouds like cinema screens, Libby Whitmore couldn't focus on the stack of contracts awaiting her signature. Her assistant, Joshua, debriefed the board's agenda. Whitmore Urban's West End Elevate project, a renewal effort, poised to buy out 37 properties, level them, and birth high-rise lofts. Item 41, 239 Oak Street Southwest, tenant, Papa Ray's Smokehouse. Foreclosure imminent. Prime acquisition. Lightning flickered. Libby's reflection in the glass looked ghost pale. She dismissed Joshua early. Alone, she opened the recovered flash drive. Renderings of slick condominiums and artisanal food halls glowed on the monitor, overlaid by spreadsheets of profit margins. But as rain pattered against the glass, her mind replayed Ray's refusal of her card and the flutter in her chest when cornbread evoked childhood. She shut the laptop, unsettled. 2 days later, Ray received the email. Miss Whitmore requests a brief meeting at Papa Ray's, 1 p.m. tomorrow, to discuss property matters. Ray convened his counsel around a wobbling table. Maya, Miss Geneva, Luis, Deshawn, and neighbor lawyer in training Rochelle. Fear simmered in every gaze. West End residents had watched bodegas morph into craft beer taprooms, laundromats into meditation studios, and rents quadrupled overnight. They'll wave a wad of cash, call it a lifeline, Rochelle said, pushing glasses up her nose. It's a choke chain. Maya thumped the table. We can't sell UNC. Mama Pauline's barbecue sauce is basically culture. Ray inhaled slowly. We hear her out. Doesn't mean we bow. Libby arrived not in couture, but jeans and a navy raincoat, hair pulled back. Yet she was flanked by 2 executives, Michael Chong, acquisitions head, and Marissa Greer, legal counsel. They spread glossy documents across Ray's beloved pine table. Offer price, $600 million, astronomical for a failing restaurant. Above market by 40%. Closing in 30 days. Ray's pulse pounded. $600 grand would erase debts, send Maya through 4 years of school, and provide Miss Geneva retirement comfort. He swallowed. And after closing, Michael's smile was cordial, sharp tooth behind polished veneer. The Elevate campus will include curated dining kiosks. Your recipes could live on. Mr. Carter, scaled appropriately. Scaled appropriately, Ray repeated, tasting bitterness. meaning automated smokers and line cooks in branded ball caps. No one answered. Libby watched Ray, something haunted in her expression. They all felt the crossroads humming. If I say no, Ray said. Marissa spoke. Foreclosure proceeds. The bank auctions at market price. Whitmore Urban acquires for far less. Contractors begin in spring. A polite threat, but lethal. Michael snapped a Mont-Blanc pen. 48 hours, Mr. Carter. A generous window. They filed out. Libby paused. Ray, may we talk privately? He held her gaze. Behind the fatigue and privilege, he saw conflict. But hurt outrained curiosity. I think everything's been said. Outside, thunder grumbled like a judge clearing his throat. That evening, Libby sat on her penthouse floor, contracts scattered like fallen dominoes. She stared at an old photo. A red-cheeked little girl in front of Whitmore's Groceries, an Atlanta mom-and-pop her parents once owned before selling to investors who erected the very glass tower she now commanded. On the back, her late father had scrawled, "Remember why we started." For years she'd believed scaling up was honoring his dream. Now she felt she'd betrayed it. She dialed her mother, Evelyn, in Savannah. Did Dad ever regret selling the store? Silence crackled through the line. Then Evelyn whispered, "Every day of his life." Libby's throat tightened. Wind howled against the windows. She seized her coat. 10 p.m. Papa Ray's was dark except a single bulb over the back booth, where Ray pored over bills. Libby knocked tentatively on the glass. Watching her alone, sans entourage, Ray's anger cooled to wary curiosity. He unlocked the door. "I need to tell you the truth," she said. Candlelight revealed shadows under her eyes. 2 days ago, I was ready to raid this place. You were a line item. Then you fed me cornbread that tasted like my grandma's house. And I felt ashamed. Ray said nothing. She pressed on. My father ran a grocery that anchored a neighborhood the way Papa Ray's anchors this one. Developers dangled money. He sold, believing it would free him to expand elsewhere. But expansion never fed his soul the way the store did. He died before he told me how much he regretted it. I've repeated his mistake on a citywide scale. Rain began again, gentler this time, as if eavesdropping. I want to propose something different, Libby said, producing a leather notebook instead of contracts. Handwritten notes, not legalese. Whitmore Urban can create a community stewardship wing. Investing, not displacing. Let's start with your restaurant. $250,000 in capital. Kitchen overhaul, smoker upgrade, tuition for Maya, wages for staff, marketing. In exchange, 25% equity for Whitmore Urban, but operational control stays with you. And I place a deed covenant. This property can never be sold outside the Carter family or the stewardship wing without unanimous community board approval. Ray's jaw slackened. Why would your shareholders allow that? Because I'm giving them numbers. Studies show purpose-driven brands outperform. But more than that, Ray, because I'm the majority shareholder. Lightning illuminated her face. She looked both terrified and resolute. Ray considered the photographs on the wall. Mama Pauline's smile. What would she advise? She'd read Libby's eyes first. Sincerity or hustle. Ray saw a woman at war with her legacy. I got conditions, he said finally. Miss Geneva becomes director of community outreach with benefits. Luis and Deshawn get full-time hours. Maya finishes culinary school on company dime. And we keep the name Papa Ray's. Libby extended her hand. Her fingers trembled, but the grip was firm. Deal. 6 months later, aromas of mesquite and mango chili danced through a gleaming remodel. The neon sign had been repaired, its blue halo visible from the interstate. Inside, polished photos documented both past and present. Mama Pauline seasoning ribs. Libby in jeans hauling sacks of sweet potatoes. Maya in cap and gown, scholarship certificate clutched to her chest. Papa Ray's now hosted weekly community storytelling nights, funded by Whitmore's stewardship wing, where kids recited poems while tourists devoured brisket flights. An adjacent lot, once slated for demolition, had transformed into the Carter Whitmore Urban Garden, tended by local teens apprenticing in agronomy. Whitmore Urban stock dipped briefly when analysts fretted over smaller condo margins, then rebounded to record highs as national media hailed the stewardship model. Investors realized that properties wrapped in local goodwill faced fewer lawsuits, lower vandalism, and higher long-term value. But numbers mattered less to Libby the day she watched Luis's wife open a daycare in a refurbished shotgun house her company underwrote, or when Miss Geneva danced the electric slide at 72 during a block party ribbon cutting. Ray found himself on panels at Georgia Tech discussing barbecue economics, though he privately joked he was still catching up on property law jargon. He had hired 3 more pit apprentices and a deaf pastry chef who spoke through sugar sculptures. On a humid July afternoon, almost 1 year to the day since the fateful storm, skies bruised purple again. Inside Papa Ray's, Ray prepped peach-glazed ribs while Maya adjusted the new air filtration system. Lightning cracked, and the front door burst open. A teenage boy and his younger sister staggered in, soaked, carrying a cello case between them like a lifeline. Their mother hurried behind, panting, explaining that a tree crushed their car 3 blocks away. We saw the lights, she said, shivering. Ray traded a glance with Libby, who happened to be restocking shelves with jars of peach chow chow. He stepped forward, déjà vu thrumming. Come in, Ray said, the very words he'd spoken a year earlier. You'll catch your death out there. Libby fetched towels. Maya ladled mulligatawny. The little girl plucked Ray's sleeve. Sir, is it true this place used to be headed for a bulldozer? Ray chuckled. Best thing about storms, kiddo? Sometimes they wash away the wrong plans and leave you space to build better ones. The girl didn't understand, but her smile said she trusted him anyway. Outside, thunder rumbled like distant applause. Inside, Papa Ray's glowed, proof that kindness, once seated, blooms in widening circles, nourishing everyone brave enough to open a door.